What's up, guys? I'm coming at you from Hong Kong. I just dropped off my passport application. Should be ready in about a month or so. And I am off looking for my car. And this is hopefully going to be another one of those short vlog entries, but we'll see how it goes. Might be a little bit more tricky because I'm going to have a discussion with my friend in it while we're driving back to Shenzhen. Oh, Jesus, this is a big hill. Man, this hill is still going. I am so out of shape. And this area, actually, it's a pretty green area. This is where I did my training for one of the most epic hikes I've ever done, and that was to Kailash Mountain in Tibet. I drove there from Lhasa, and I did the Kora around Kailash Mountain. It's considered a religious hike for multiple religions, and I just wanted to do it more for the challenge. It's a 54-kilometer hike. It reaches altitudes of 5,600 meters. Usually people do it over 2 or 3 days. They camp up there because it's a pretty intense hike. I can tell you, once you're getting close to the top, you can pretty much just take a couple of steps. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. And my goal was to try and finish it in 1 day. And the tour company for Tibet, they refused because they didn't want any dead foreigners on their record. Particularly because the year before that, there were about 6 people who died trying to do that hike. A few of them were Canadians, so they refused. But on the day of the trip, I convinced the local tour guide to let me do it in 1 day, and he did it along with me. I had a couple of friends with me. They were Chinese, local Han-Chinese, not ethnic minorities from Tibet. The tour guide was from Tibet, a Lhasa native, and my friends, they couldn't finish it. They got halfway up, and they started having really serious altitude sickness. I'm sweating here from this. It's crazy. So they had to get emergency evacuated, and then the last 6 kilometers, I did manage to do it in 1 day. I finished it in 17 and a half hours. And the last 6 kilometers, my local tour guide bailed on me. There was a little bit of a road, and he called a motorcycle up, one of his friends, to take him down. And he asked me, he said if I wanted to jump on, and it was so tempting. Man, my muscles were so sore at that point, and I was going at a snail's pace at that point. But I said, no, I've gone this far, it's the last little bit, I gotta finish this. And I did it. But now, here I am, in the place where I did all of my training. I did all my training in Hong Kong through these mountains to prepare for that hike. And I can't even go up a little hill. Granted, it's a pretty good hill. So anyways, where am I going? I'm gonna go pick up my car. My vehicle I've left with my buddy. And I usually leave it at his place now because his mother has regular appointments in the Hong Kong hospitals here. They're both originally from Hong Kong. And so I just left the car with him because I only use it 1 or 2 times per month. That's the car which allows me to drive across the border from Shenzhen to China. So I just left it with him, and I pick it up when I need to use it. But it just happened today. It just so happened today that we both needed to go into Hong Kong. So I let him drive. He dropped me off at the passport office, and now I'm going to go pick it up. So what I'm going to do is, for the main part of the vlog, I'm going to get in the car with him. We're going to drive back. I'm going to let him drive, and we'll talk about driving and traffic mannerisms. I think it's a pretty appropriate topic, considering that we're going to be driving. And I said in my last video, I said I was going to talk about interactions with police, so I will tie a little bit of that in. I'll talk about traffic police and how traffic violations are handled both here and in China. With that said, I'll see you guys in a sec when I meet up with my buddy. Hey!
Hello, man.
Driving mannerisms. It's Eric.
Hello.
You saw him in yesterday's video. So the differences between driving in China and driving in Hong Kong. I'll start off by saying when I first got this car, I was really nervous about driving it. It's Canada,
big. Big.
Well, it's big, one, and I'm used to the steering wheel being on this side. And so I was afraid the biggest thing was trying to keep it in the middle of the road because you're not really thinking about the car when you're driving. But it turned out all right. Driving in Shenzhen is a little bit of an issue sometimes when you're turning left, because you can't see around the other cars, but overall it's pretty good. And the one thing I wanted to say, and you've probably noticed this too, is you've got to switch your whole mindset when you're driving here.
Yep.
Because when you're in Shenzhen, if somebody's pulling out or something like that, you don't rely on anybody following the rules. And because of that, it creates everybody's a little bit more ready.
Awareness.
Aware and ready. Yeah. Like you go on autopilot in other places. And here, everybody's expecting everybody to follow the rules. So if somebody pulls out when there's not enough time, more than likely they'll get hit here. Whereas in the mainland, they wouldn't. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've noticed any differences also, what you think compared to Canada. It's more or less the same thing.
No, but we're talking about driving in Canada. You won't hit anything anyway.
There's so much space. You're driving to a lake before you hit somebody. What I like about the China side is cops don't try to mess with you. It's like, I don't know if you know, in Canada and stuff, well, of course you know, you were there for a while. Like, they try to get you. If it's, for example, a 60 zone, all of a sudden turns to a 30 zone, there's a cop there waiting for you. Uh-huh. They know that that's going to be a place where you make a mistake. And in China, they don't really do that. And they don't even have, I haven't seen a speed trap. They rely on a lot of kind of cameras and stuff like that. Yep. And actually, Thomas, you met Thomas, I introduced you to him. He was saying that there's actually certain laws about high-speed chases that cops aren't allowed to chase people, and they're not allowed to stop them on highways. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Like, when you're in Canada, I'm sure you saw cops on TV, the show, Bad Boys. And you see these epic high-speed car chases, but you don't see anything like that in China. And they just don't try to mess with you. Here, I've seen speed traps here in Hong Kong. But
not as much as
the West.
Not as much. And I don't think that there are too many of them in here anymore.
Yeah, I think probably in the 3-4 years that I've been driving this car, or even from before when I was in taxis and stuff like that, I probably saw over the last 10 years a speed trap 3 or 4 times. But in contrast to the mainland, I've never seen a speed trap. Of course, they've got places where they do DUI checks and stuff like that, or sometimes they check documents in the car. But never a speed trap. No. And never a high-speed chase. And I guess, well, granted, their surveillance is probably good enough. They're like, okay, you go ahead. We'll get you later.
The last time I got caught for speeding, it was 5 years ago, I think, 5 to 6 years ago.
In the mainland or here?
No, in Hong Kong.
Okay.
By the border.
They camp out there, especially just after the Shenzhen Bay Bridge.
After the bridge, it just dropped from 100 to 50.
Right.
Okay, 100 to 50. The cops were hiding in the bush, and then all out of a sudden, I turn around, somebody pulled me over.
Yeah. I've seen that. That's actually one of the 2 or 3 times that I did see a speed trap. It was there. I was in Mark's car, and we were coming across. I was like, "Oh crap! Did we get caught?
No,
we were okay.
Well, 3 points.
Oh yeah. That's what gets you. Yeah. I feel like in the mainland, they try to design things and they try to do things where they really actually want people to follow the rules, and they don't. I really don't think they have a system overseas where police officers have quotas where they've got to give out a certain number of tickets.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either, but by the way that experiencing life there, I can't imagine they do. Whereas in Canada and the U.S., I know people say this all the time. I don't know if it's actually been verified whether there are monthly quotas, but it does seem like at the end of the month, all of a sudden, there's a lot more tickets being given out. That immediately talks about a broken system. It's like you need to find this many people causing an issue, breaking the law.
I find it. What I find more interesting is how China can change people's habits.
Yes.
Bad habits of not stopping the car in front of the zebra.
Yeah.
Okay. How fast that China, our government can change the habits that have been going on for so many years. Right. All out of a sudden, people just stop in front of a zebra.
It happens quickly. Of course, the enforcement is a piece. They put the cameras there and they give you tickets. And I think a lot of people, what they fail to realize, especially not only foreigners, but actually Chinese, because Chinese people in China, they criticize their own people also. They're like, oh, we really need to fix this, or why, this is a shame or something like that. But what they've got to realize is that no country just all of a sudden became morally responsible and said, okay, now we're going to follow the rules. It was through enforcement, it was through education, but it took a heck of a lot longer than it did in China. And to your point, in that regard, it happens really quick.
Yeah. And quote unquote, Kevin could, or You know the former Australian Prime Minister.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Kevin who? Kevin Cunt?
I don't know. Kevin Cunt?
No, I don't know.
It would make sense because that's our Australian friend. That's all he says all the time, right? It's almost like it seems like it's their national word.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. That was rude. Apologies, Kevin, whoever you are.
So, you know that the former Australian Prime Minister said, like, well, it took the West to finish the Industrial Revolution and the IT, like, and information technology revolution. Like, took the West 300 years to finish.
Yeah.
And China completed the both of them at the same time within 30 years.
Yeah, I know.
So it was pretty much, like, from a rural agricultural society, like, all of a sudden we have turned into, like, something quite interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, the speed is really what's remarkable. To my point about them just trying to get you in North America, I remember there was this one time I was on Yonge Street in Toronto heading south.
Yonge Street?
And I was supposed to turn right to get onto the...
Which part of Yonge Street?
It was either on Yonge Street or Avenue Road. It was right around the 401. And I passed under the 401 bridge, and to get onto the 401 East, I needed to stay in the right lane. And I thought it was a left. And I was looking at my GPS. The GPS was really rare back then. And the GPS also said stay in the left lane. So when I realized I made a mistake, I waited for the next traffic lights and turned left. And to come around and do a U-turn on a road I was allowed to do a U-turn on. And boom, cops were there. 4 or 5 cop cars, non-stop flow of people that they're pulling over to give a ticket because you're not supposed to turn left during a certain period of time. And then, so whatever, it gives me the ticket. I go back out to the intersection afterwards and I see that the sign, whoa, somebody crashed here. What's going on?
Uh-oh.
It blew out a tire or something.
Flat tire.
Yeah. But, so I go, the tire's all the way over here. Man, his tire flew off.
Oh!
Whoa. Yeah, that's something. Okay. Well, that's something you don't see every day. Anyways, I went back out of the intersection, and the sign that was on the traffic lights that said you can't turn left during that time was bent. It was bent out of shape. So I took a picture of it, and I went to court, and the court case took forever. It took like 3-4 months later. And the way it works in Canada, if the cop doesn't show up, you get let off. So the cop did show up, and then so I fight the case. I brought the photos, and it wasn't a judge. It was like a JP or something like that, Justice of Peace. And he says to me, well, after I tell him the whole story, he says, well, to me it sounds like you were just blindly following your GPS. So the ticket still stays. And I said, well, I've got photos. You didn't look at my photos. He says, no, I don't need to see them. And then he says, is there anything else you'd like to say? I said, yeah. I said, this is ridiculous. I'm going to appeal it. And I said, you know what? And I said, you've got 4 or 5 cop cars sitting on the street, and you've got a non-stop flow of people that you're giving tickets to, and you don't ask the question, what's going on here? Why are so many people making the same mistake? And take even just a minute to go out to the intersection and take a look for yourself. And I said, and that's ridiculous. But here, when you see an issue with an intersection or something like that has common problems or something like that, they do everything they can. Put extra zebra lines, put extra signs or something like that. They don't want to create these situations where their police officers can, write a certain number of tickets at the end of the month. And if you even see in China, people aren't afraid of cops. Like in North America, when you're on the highway and all of a sudden you see a cop, you tense up. You're like, okay, I got to make sure I indicate everything. On the highway in China, people just blow by cars. They just fly by them on the highway, and they're not even concerned.
That's true. I think worst in the States.
Yeah, it is worse in the States. But you were talking about bikes too.
I was talking about bikers. I think mainlanders are they have more empathy. They have more empathy towards towards
bikers on the road.
Yeah.
Both bicycles or electric bikes and all that kind of stuff.
Bikers.
Oh, actual bikers. Okay.
Actual bikers, because everyone in the younger days, everyone was a biker.
They used to use it, so I would say they're more empathetic because they were them, not too long ago.
In general, the mentality of the mainlanders are more forgiving, way more forgiving than the ones in Hong Kong.
I think in the West, where you get a lot of road rage and stuff like that, these are people who have been drivers for a long time, and
even
they feel like they own the roads.
Yeah. Even when you talk about manners or anything like that, like, well, even if you had poor manners, like, people are more forgiving in China, in mainland China,
Yeah.
than they are in Hong Kong.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, in general, yeah, they're more likely to say "swana." Forget it. Swana.
Yeah.
I mean, you do get people who obviously there are people who get angry or get upset and blow up, but as an average, they're more likely in China to say, "This isn't worth it. This isn't worth the fight." It's just like, well, why do I need to, get angry about this?
Might because of the British influence in the past. The class system.
Yeah. That's a topic. I've been trying to get you on camera for a while for a more sit-down thing, and I don't want to go through all this. This is supposed to be a short video. Where are we at? We're at 15 minutes. I think maybe we're gonna we'll continue this next time, because I don't want to risk going into that really interesting topic that I have to speak with you about, which is living in Hong Kong pre-97.
Yep.
Your experiences with the handover, your experiences with freedom before the handover and after the handover, and the idea of you being a little bit out of your group in a way where, most people were they hated China, and you were a proud Chinese, even though you were a Hong Konger, long before it was cool to be proud of China. But that's going to be something we got to sit down with. We got to sit down. We're going to have a bottle of wine, and we're going to talk about that topic.
Yep, looking forward to it.
Yeah, cool. All right, before this gets too long, we'll leave it at that, and you'll see Eric next time when we finally sit down with a bottle of wine. Catch you guys next time. All right, guys, so I'm back at home. I had a nice chat with Eric. I had a nice lunch, but this video went way over what I originally intended, and I had to cut out a bunch of stuff from the video. So from that conversation you saw, I cut out a lot of what Eric had to say. So you're left with mostly me talking. And that is deliberate because he covered a lot of stuff that I want to talk to him in a dedicated video where I sit down with him and I have an actual kind of full-on interview with him, because he is a fabulously interesting guy with a lot of interesting stories, and a lot of the things he had to say in the car ties into what I want to cover in that video. So that's why a lot of his stuff was cut out, and if I didn't cut all that stuff out and some beautiful B-roll from Hong Kong that I had put in, this video would have been like 30-40 minutes, and I messed up again. And I ran into the exact same problem I said I always have, is I don't know how to make short videos, but I got to cut it here. So that's what you're going to be left with, and then tune in, subscribe if you're not already subscribed and you want to see more discussions with Eric, and you want to see what he had to say and some of the really interesting things and perspectives he has on Hong Kong about pre-handover, handover, and post-handover. So until then, I'll chat with you guys next time.